Hey, what's up you guys, Acromaniac here. This video is going to be an Injustice 2 appreciation video, and at the same exact time, at least for like the first half of it, it's really just to illustrate and to demonstrate that I understand that people had their gripes towards the game, even I had it too, when it came to the zoning aspect of it, but the game itself, it did come built with actual mechanics and options to counter it. Or not so much necessarily to counter it necessarily, like characters' kits did have counters to it, but it was more of universal options within the game were presenting you options to essentially navigate through the zoning. Because within this game, zoning, it was literally just full screen footsies. That's kind of realistically just how it played as. And as you can see right here, I'm using two of the most polarizing characters. You have pure rushdown, essentially almost pure zoning, but just to at least demonstrate that you still had options. So, as you can see with Canary, she can still cover the screen in 3 dashes, which is obviously still like a decent amount of time, but it's to show that it's like you could get in. Same with the meter burn rolling. If you didn't want to do all of that, you can get right under. If you timed it wrong, like there, you're going to get hit. But if you do it right, you will get in, And obviously it's at the expense of a bar, as you can see, but that's the whole purpose of building your resource, And then she has that too, the handspring, where it travels even further than a normal dash. It's a special, so you build meter off of it. You also have follow-ups off of it in general, and at the same time too, it has built-in properties to literally get past zoning, as you can see. Virtually every single character that didn't actually have a legitimate zoning game, or like an actual range game, had these kinds of options. Catwoman has her meter burn cat dash, Flash has his running man stance and he can literally run across. Canary has this. She also has her trait, the level 3 Scream, to get around this. Characters literally came with this. It was a matter of you actually being a good enough player to be knowledgeable as to when and where to use these things, and to understand how to actually plan to incorporate these things. So my thing is, it's just, I get that people don't really like the whole zoning aspect itself, or they think that it's just like, it's almost kind of like spammy, and with certain characters it kind of is, but you realistically only had to hold it to a certain degree, and then it was your turn. It was your game, Because it's like a character like Canary, yeah, she doesn't have the full screen presence, doesn't have the zoning, doesn't have the weapons or whatnot, but it's like, but she has this. She has a parry. Parries high, mids, overheads, as you can see. Acts like a normal parry. But then on top of that too, you can meter burn it and literally get a full-blown combo for parrying quite virtually anything, realistically. And then she also has a low one to parry low attacks as well, to do the same exact thing, get a full-blown combo, So it's like, you don't want these kinds of characters next to you, because then you stop playing the game. Just like zoners are preventing you from playing the game, from like at least like a full screen distance, rushdown characters prevent you from doing the same as well when they're in your fucking face. It goes hand in hand. It's basically yin and yang, and that's where hybrid characters come into play, in regards to all of this. My gripe with Mortal Kombat 11 and Mortal Kombat 1 is that it doesn't take any of this into account. It tries, or is trying so hard to kind of give universal options to everybody, but like in their kit. It's not really mechanic wise, because then I made this comparison like within the comments. That's essentially literally a first person shooter. That's kind of how it is. Everyone has like their primary fire, your alternate fire, an ability or two, and then general movement. And it seems like NRS is going in this direction, but for a fucking fighting game, which is just like so bizarre, and just creating its own subcategory, but it's like, it's not even a good subcategory. There's nothing to gain out of it. There's nothing innovative out of it. It doesn't improve the scene itself. It's like, it's not to sound or come off as like elitist or anything like that, but it's not thinning the herd. It doesn't present something that will create sort of like an evolutionary kind of thing, if that makes sense. Like, it's not presenting an actual circumstance or an actual scenario where your actual strong are going to rise to the top. Like, they naturally will. That's the same case with any species. It's the same case with anything altogether. The stronger ones are always going to climb regardless. But it's not presenting an actual arena or field where your strong players in the grand scheme of things, are actually going to be like legitimately good, strong players. They're just strong in this specific little fucking niche of this made up pretend subcategory fighting game, you know, and that's kind of just it. You don't really actually walk away gaining anything out of it except for that little personal reality, you know. So the whole purpose, at least for like the first half of this video, is really just to illustrate and demonstrate and discuss as to how you actually navigate around the zoning aspect itself, you know, like especially within this game, but then also just like to illustrate that you can get around it realistically. It's just a matter of you knowing how to plan around it, you know, and how to navigate through it. As you can see, like I was discussing before, just the act of crouching itself, you're gonna go under highs. As you can see with her zoning, it's predominantly highs, you know, so if you literally just duck, you're not gonna get hit. You know, you're not taking anything. Because at the same exact time, what you guys have to consider and what you have to recognize is that fighting games, it's all a game about damage. You're literally trying to delete the other person's health. Look at the health bar right up top. That's how you win. You're trying to drop that shit to 0, so you have to do damage. It doesn't make sense to kind of put things in like a moral perspective, because what does it matter at the end of the day? You still have to do damage. If your character's only means of actually doing viable damage is through a zoning means, then that's what you have to do. If they don't have the rushdown capabilities, how the fuck are you going to play rushdown with them? You know? Same with the rushdown character. If they don't have the zoning capabilities, how are you going to play them like a zoner? It doesn't make sense. You know, you're literally swimming, you're going against the current, essentially. You know, you're going against the grain to not actually accomplish anything. Like, it doesn't actually make any sense. So at least what I want to show here is when Canary, in general, like the game will present you different options. For Canary, her level 3, that trait right there, that's her option. As you can see, look, it says punish. I did punish her. As you can see, if you have the reactions, you have the right resource, the timing, everything, like, you will get this. Because look, this is why you don't want her in your face, because then she does all of this. You know, like, you don't want these characters next to you, plain and simply. Like, look at how fast she deleted that health bar, you know? And it's like, these are from like legitimate actual like setups that the character actually has and what she can do. See, and every character is going to have they have access to this. Everybody has to be capable of doing damage. It's a damage game. It's a fighting game. That's what you have to do, you know? Because as you can see, a lot of these characters, they tend to be hybrids, kind of like Starfire. But look, she's killing a lot of resource. She can do her damage, but as you can see, she's not netting anywhere near as much, and she's spending a lot more than what Canary just spent to try to accomplish something similar. You know, like as you can see right there. Yeah, you can convert off of A through Z, you have more range to do so, but you're cashing out on a lot less. It's all about the spacing aspect itself. Like, that's what you guys had to process in your heads. You had to realize. So, right here, what I'm trying to show is that, look, like universal movement, again, going back, is you just crouch. You know, so as you can see, you have to set things up so that you can actually start making things connect. Like, there is actual, like, mental play when it comes to zoning. Like, there is actual calculation that's occurring. You know, you can't just press. Unless you're a character like Dr. Fate, like, he was just unanimously just, like, super, super uber brain dead. Still is. You know, but he's kind of like somewhat of the exception. Same with like Vanilla Deadshot. But especially a character like her and most characters in the game, like literally 90% of them, you do have to actually set things up. You have to plan and work for it, you know, and have the right timing, have the right spacing, have the right resource, you know, have the right conditioning to even make it all happen. These things, they're not just served up to you. Because again, at the same exact time, if she's up in your face, she's not doing as much mileage as she is when she's full screen. You know, a character like Starfire. Same with Canary. On the flip side, if she's full screen, she's not doing anywhere near as much as she can be doing when she's in your face. That's just the nature of having different kits. That's the nature of different archetypes and playstyles. Going into the topic of different playstyles, a huge portion with this game is the trait itself. So you see, like with Starfire, her trait is that, like, the beam itself, the Starbolt. So it's very unique because it's its own thing. It's not technically a special, but it behaves like one, or all traits in general behave like a special. Hers, you're able to actually cancel pretty much all of your specials into it itself. And you can do it in the air, you can do it on the ground. As you can see, you can use it just like individually, but there's a gauge for it. You know, you have to manage how much it actually is, how much expenditure you're using out of it. And the thing is, the whole purpose of that is that if you are fighting against a Starfire and you see that she's depleting it and she has something left, what that literally translates to is, oh shit, she just ran herself dry. Now I get to move in for almost for free because she doesn't have this massive full screen contesting thing there anymore. You know, like that's your window. You have to constantly look for windows of opportunities in this game, which I personally love because it's always actually going to happen. You know, you can't actually play flawlessly in this game. There's too much that's actually occurring, and even realistically, like as much as in a real fight too, you literally will never have like an actual flawless match. That will only happen if you're facing against a lesser opponent that literally just can't keep up with you. That's not necessarily fun. That's not a learning experience, you know? Or at the same exact time, how do you find that actually hype if you're just bursting people for 70%, you know, into an unblockable some shit, you know, and all you did was like 10 inputs in total? I don't find that fun. You know, like if I wanted to do that, I would play like an RPG game or something, you know, where I can just go buck wild on like an AI army or something. And kind of tying into that too, I've seen the comparison about like the whole cat and mouse thing, and it's like, oh, like it can be boring. Like there's one particular comment that did say that, but then I've seen that throughout the longevity of this game itself too. You guys have to wrap your head around it. If you look at a boxing match, you look at UFC fights, MMA fights, they're not trying to fucking stay on top of each other. You know, you're literally scouting each other out, because the thing is, if you make a wrong move or you get yourself in a bad positioning, you're gonna get fucked over. Why the fuck are you gonna be right next to the opponent where they can just grapple you, or they can tackle you, or they can land a legitimately like lethal hit, you know, or a critical hit? Why would you be in their face for that? You know, like it doesn't make sense. Nothing in any semblance of reality behaves that way. Like I don't know if people actually live in the real world, you know, or not, but like it doesn't work that way. Like you don't just go in and just stay in just because, you know. Even if you look at a game of chess too, it's all about positioning and placements, you know, and making the right calls, making the right sacrifices. You're not just gonna, I'm just gonna advance every fucking pawn forward. Oh look, it's my queen, let me just send my queen out, let me just send my bishops out, you know, just fuck it all because I'm a man about it, you know. I'm not gonna be a coward, I'm not gonna run away, fuck this cat and mouse, you know, just go balls to the wall, just go right through. It's stupid, it's completely illogical, there's no strategy behind it. Like it doesn't make sense. So the thing is, it's like here again with the positioning aspect, tying it to that, is now things will obviously change when you're in the corner. Same again with like even in a real fight. You know, when you have the open space and the open arena, you can move around freely, but now when you get cornered, things are actually going to change. Your properties are going to change. How you can convert, what you can actually do, how the opponent gets locked in, all those things are actually going to shift. They're all going to shift now. And the other form of things shifting is now when you have the super too. You know, like you can have like this burst damage, as you can see. Well, not so much burst damage, but you know, you can cash out and just like unclashable, unbreakable, like that's the whole purpose of a super, is so that you can't actually get rid of it, you can't counter it because you worked for all that resource to land it. Like that's why I don't process the whole concept behind Fatal Blow. Like the only thing that constantly circles back that actually makes sense about it is just, it's a comeback mechanic for players that don't know what they're doing. It's a way to make them not feel bad for getting mopped. So as you can see now with Canary, it's like I also love like the creativity and the animation. And the thing is, like the perk of it altogether from like super use itself, and like again meter management, resource management, all that, is that in this game your super, like I think it's the literal only the very first frame is actually fully invincible. And then after that you actually get like tank armor. I think it's like 3 hits of armor onto the super. Very strong, yeah, but it costs you 4 bars. Like you've seen, I'm pretty sure you saw my recent upload, you know, like the Wonder Woman mirror. There's meter being burned all match long. I think there was only like 2 super uses the entire time, because you're constantly needing meter, to access all the mechanics, to access your character's kit, to do A through Z. So if you're actually hoarding and you're working up to those 4 bars to utilize a super, I feel like you've earned all those properties, Like, I don't know if that's just me. I feel like that's a logical statement, But the very interesting thing too, and what I admire about this game and about the supers themselves and about super use in general when it actually is proper in a proper fighting game, is that they'll usually have like different key properties. Like with Canaries, as you can see, she jumps into the air to do it. So it actually does serve as a legitimately viable anti-air that she quite literally doesn't have access to in general as her kit. She doesn't actually have a move or an attack like that, but now she does because she has the super. So I'm going to show a little setup over here. Very, very basic, nothing crazy, just to at least show just the concept behind it, just the gist of it. Like let's say you do a typical thing, and then you try to Oki them with like a big jump in or something, big plus frames that they typically do have to hold, In Canary's case, if you build up to the 4 or you get the 4, now look at what you can do. She cannot access that region, like she can't hit directly in front of her by design. Like she literally just cannot, but now she can because she has 4 bars. So that's why you will work to the super in specific situations, especially during like the second health bar, like the way that the game works. You have your first health bar and then the second one. It's just I find this so hype, in my opinion, just because you can see the planning, like you can see the strategy developing by the player, and then the higher level of the players, the more intense it gets, So see, like with here too, like with Starfire, technically, yeah, she has the full screen shit in general, but the thing is her Starbolt doesn't have armor. Her regular Pew Pew doesn't have armor. Her Stardust doesn't have armor. Nothing that she does that's going to cover all that distance that her super just did, none of it has armor on it. So if you counter hit her, or if she's trying to contest something flying at her, she's gonna trade hits, or she's gonna get interrupted. But now she has a super, look, like right here. Look at that, and you have the reactions. Now you can actually literally absorb it and just hit right back, Like, this is the whole purpose behind it. This is why it's there. Like, this is why you build to it. Not just you get all these benefits, but it's just handed to you for free because you got hit, because you got mopped. So now you're below 30% health, and now you just have the super for whatever fucking reason. Like, they're trying so hard to try to balance it out, and it's like, bro, you have meter back. Just revert it to regular super use. It isn't more complicated than that. That's all that it is. But I feel like I'm also kind of like talking in circles a little bit, because I feel like I already expressed a lot of my critiques already. And like I said earlier in the video, this is really going to be like an Injustice 2 appreciation video. So I covered virtually everything that I actually wanted to cover with this. So the remainder half is literally I'm just doing actual like B&Bs. Some are not going to be optimal, but majority is going to be optimal for it. And it's just showcasing basically all the characters that I use, and just like showcasing different loadouts, different stages, all their glory, showing off the different clashes too, like some of my favorites. It's just, look at what the game had to offer. Like, they could easily just incorporate more characters into this and it would still be just as good, So that's basically it. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm pretty sure that you will. It's pretty hype stuff. It's pretty aesthetically pleasing, and yeah, until next time, you can always follow me again, Twitch and Twitter, Acromaniac27, and until next time, guys, take care.
Kiss my blade. Try to keep up. I can do this all day. To catch a thief. You're better off catching fire. You're no warrior.
Still not hot enough for you? Can't believe you've lasted this long.
Experience counts, kid. Try to keep up.
You just watch me. Feel the burn. You singed my pigtails! Go lick your wounds.
Not even on my worst day.
Enough of your tricks.
Learn to take a joke, pal!
Kiss me, lover.
Rose, not happening.
Say goodnight, Harley.
Good night, Harley!
Let me sing a siren song.
Hell no, you won't.
I feel you weakening.
You should be so lucky. Got a lot of fight, Kara.
Here goes a few of your teeth. I'm stealing this one from you.
Time to clip those claws.
Time I whipped you into shape.
Tempting, but no.
Stop trying to kill me, will ya?
You die today.
June can't come to the phone right now.
You think I forgot?
I don't want to hurt you.
Then hurry up and die.
Why do you not yield?
This is war.